Namaskar. Welcome to Conversations with Rakesh. This week, I got a very good question on conflicts. Rakesh sir, I've had a major conflict in my workplace and it didn't go very well. This has been happening for quite some time. I have a fairly good idea of what to do in a conflict, but I'd like to ask you that are there any things I should never do in a workplace conflict? What a brilliant question. See, conflicts are a part of workplace communication. It is mostly a large chunk of our lives, not because we are bad people. I mean, none of us want to fight. But when you're working together, there are differences in opinion. Each of us have a different viewpoint. Each of us have a different priority. Each of us want something personally and organizationally which is different. We represent different interests. All of this becomes very complex. So the conflicts arise from a simple difference in opinion to a very big fight. And the spectrum is very large. And in a given day, we usually speak for upwards of 4 hours and depends on what kind of position and role you're doing. But half your day is in communication, and in that, I would argue that close to half of that time is managing conflicts. And conflicts don't mean fight. A mild difference of opinion to a complex issue which can result into a fight. So what I think we all have to learn is prepare ourselves better to do conflict management. But the question is very nice that what are the things that I should not do in a conflict management situation? So I thought about it using my own anecdotal experiences. I'll try my best to answer your question. Here is the first thing I encourage you never to do in a workplace conflict. The first one, never go unprepared. This is a mistake I made. When I was working at Intel, there was this massive conflict that was because of a customer issue. There were 5 teams we were working in. Deadlines were approaching, so there was pressure, and pressure is pressure. So everybody is under pressure, right? And the conflicts are because of technological issues, behavior issues, revenue issues, and various other factors. Some of them historic also. There were two people who just generally loved to fight. So these things happen. Now, I was a rookie tech marketing person and very arrogant, honestly. And I remember this one meeting which I only had called, and I just I had this arrogance that I'm just going to wing it. I'll just go in the room, I'll wing it, I'll figure out, I know what to do. So I go into this room and I quickly realize that all the other people are very well prepared. I am not. I don't even have the data. I don't even have the latest updates. I'm completely out of my wits. And that is my first request to you that if there is a conflict in front of you, please prepare first. Collect all the data, collect all the facts, collect all the updates from everyone. Make sure you are on top of the issue rather than completely winging it as it goes along. In fact, there's this lovely movie, Jim Carrey's movie, where he's promoted to a vice president and the next day the company tanks and he's in front of the media and he's giving a talk that we see a great future and the company stock is like collapsing. So both the scenes are together and the movie is very funny. But that character, that person in that role was unprepared for what's happening. There's a crisis happening, a conflict, and the person is unprepared. So my request number one, do not go into a conflict unprepared. It'll just be bad for you. And conflict management requires you to think with logic, use the data and information to your advantage. And if you don't have it, it'll be a disadvantage to you and an advantage to others. And that's where the conflict doesn't go very well. Second one, this is again my own experience. You learn from mistakes. In one of the conflicts, I think the discussion was between a particular issue. But one of the remarks that somebody made in the team, and I was part of this team, was a personal attack on me. This person probably said something that I am very arrogant or I don't listen to others, and I got ticked off. And I got so badly ticked off that I don't know what happened to me. I was very upset. I probably said some things I shouldn't have. I later regretted it. But it started by that person making a personal attack on me. And then I also became very personal. I also attacked him very personally. And everybody around us was shocked that we were behaving like school children. Now, I'm not saying school children are bad people, but I think when you're working in a corporate world, I think focus on the issue, not the personality. Both of us were wrong. It doesn't matter who started it. I think I should have also been a little bit more mature, and the other person also. So when you are in a state of conflict, never get personal. This is my second request. Never get personal. Focus on the issue. There must be a problem. Solve that problem. If this person has a behavioral problem, or there is some organizational politics and somebody is doing some kida and only, this is not the time to discuss it, because it's a conflict and you have to resolve the conflict. You are going to be measured on how well you solve problems, and solving people's behaviors is a different beast, and it is not your job unless you are the manager and directly accountable for that person's behavior. All that is secondary. But remember, this is not the time to get personal. So request number 2, never get personal. Always focus on the issue. Make sure that you are focused on the problem, that hey, we have to solve this problem. You have a bad attitude is not the focus. And if that person attacks you, get that person to focus on the problem again. Say a sentence that hey, my good looks or bad looks has no correlation to this problem. My bad attitude last week has nothing to do with what we are discussing right now. Let's focus on the problem. And you have to say these sentences. These sentences will help you to stay focused. If you are also getting upset, tell yourself, focus on the issue, solve it, and move on. So that is my request number 2. Now the last one. This is a little longer one, but I'll kind of build a context around it. We are taught multiple moral lessons, values, very important for us. Value number 1, don't give up. All right. Now, there is a reason we teach. I will teach my children, don't give up. Now, there is a context to this message, don't give up. In fact, many companies have this, don't give up. Many schools and colleges have, don't give up. Many products will have a punchline, don't give up. Fine. That's a great lesson. Now, let's understand conflicts. If both the people in the conflict are going to stick to this message that mummy taught some 20 years ago or grandma taught some 40 years ago, I think it's a disaster. Because that's not how conflicts work. Somebody has to give in. It's a negotiation process. It's a process that requires a lot of communication, collaboration, tools. And don't give up is not the right thing to learn at this point of time. I think a better idea is learn to know when to give up and know when to give up. If the conflict is not going in the right direction, break. One of you should say that, hey, this is unproductive. Let's meet again, or let's give up. This is what it is. There are also some other very good tools and techniques in conflict management, which is called you disagree with each other, but you still say, okay, we will support each other. That's a big thing. But if you're going to connect it to don't give up, very bad for you and your organization and your relationships. So this is not the time to think of mummy's lesson, don't give up, or papa's lesson, don't give up. I think learn to give up, knowing exactly what is important. If the conversation conflict is not going very well, give it up. Meet again, try it one more time. But if you're going to stay कि boss मैं तो ये आज solve करके ही जाऊंगा, मैं तो छोड़ूंगा नहीं because मेरी इज्जत का सवाल है, I think the conflict is going to go in a bad direction because now it has reached a point of stubbornness. And when two people become stubborn, that's where they start attacking the personalities. That's when the conflict becomes a fight and it's a relationship lost. So my third and final request that please don't do this is Do not mix the lesson of don't give up that Papa Mama taught you with the lesson that know when to give up in a conflict. You will be so much better off if you know that this is my tripwire, a concept from negotiation. That if we cross this line, we'll break and we'll reconvene or we'll figure out some other thing, but we'll break. The conversation is over. ये कॉन्वर्जेशन में लड़ाई हो गई, चलो कोई बात नहीं, अभी थोड़ा ठंडा हो जाते हैं, पानी पी लेते हैं, चाय पी लेते हैं, वॉट एवर, बट ब्रेक. सो नो वेन टू ब्रेक versus don't break, don't give in. These are two separate contexts, and this is not the time for you to do that. So let me summarize the three things you should never do in a conflict. One, never go unprepared. Two, never attack the person. Focus on the issue. Please don't make it personal. And number three, never mix the lesson don't give up versus know when to give up in a state of conflict. And if you keep these three in mind, I hope your conflicts are slightly better for you to resolve, because remember, if you do a good job in managing a conflict, you strengthen relationships. And good relationships are the foundation of great careers. On that note, stay safe.